All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another weekly football media luncheon. My name is Haptam Kaleta. I'm Sports Information Director for UAPB, and we will get started. We've got Coach Monte Coleman, of course, head coach of the football team, along with two wonderful student athletes. To my far right, we have Mr. Dante McDonald, running back, big bruiser from Brooklyn, New York. And to my immediate right in the white, we've got Mr. Nigel Canada, strong safety out of Mansfield, Louisiana. So we welcome them to our weekly coaches luncheon, and we will get started with no further ado. Coach Monte Coleman had an exciting game against the #1 team in the SWAC. They've only lost one game all year, and nearly came up with that upset victory, but we'll let you explain it, Coach.
Well, thank you guys for being here with us once again this Tuesday at the luncheon. It's like you said, it was an exciting football game, a game that we felt very confident going into, a game that we felt like we could come out victorious. I praised the guys, the team after the game for their effort. We had a lot of effort around the board, all three phases, offense, defense, and special teams. Each one of those facets contributed to close to an upset over the #1 team, the HBCU national champs from last year. And the guys, they played hard, played extremely hard. The coaches throughout the week compiled what I felt like one of the best game plans we've had all year. We all know of Grambling's abilities. In most games at halftime, in most games they've played this year, the games have really been over with Grambling winning. And for us to play and come out and hold their high explosive offense to 3 points the second half, I got to give some kudos to our defense. Mr. Nigel Canada, he's a freshman. He started for us this week. We got 3 freshmen in the secondary. Huge play with an interception. Nice return. I think he had 19, 29 yards, whatever it was, on his return. And he's starting to lead that secondary right now with his tackling ability, some of the things that you won't see. Of course, we all saw the interception, but he's coming downhill. He's doing the things that we're asking him to do as far as playing aggressive. And he's starting to lead that secondary in the direction that we need to go with. As far as the offense, Jamie Gillen kicked the ball extremely well. I think he had 3, maybe 4 field goals. He missed one. We had a bad snap on that one, but 9 times out of 10, he'll make that one. He had the distance just a little bit off to the right a little bit. But the offense put the points on the board. We were able to start Dante. He came in, the big bruiser, and he ran the ball extremely hard. So, there's some things that I brought my stat sheet just to give you a snapshot of the game, and I'm sure people that are here were at the game and they saw it, but just to let you know how close we were. And we've talked about this week in and week out at the press conference or at the luncheon and said that we're a few players away, one good recruiting class away from having a more competitive team. We are playing very competitive against the #1 team, which was Grambling, #2 team, which was Southern, and now we've got the #3 team, and we're very optimistic going down to Houston to play Prairie View this weekend. But as far as the score, of course, it was 31-26. The last 2 weeks we've lost by 12 points within the 2 games. Rushing yards, we had 212 rushing yards, thanks to Dante and Brandon Duncan and Keyshawn and those guys. Grambling had 111 total offense. Each of us had 71 plays. We had 385 yards. They had 365 yards. We were in the red zone 6 times, and we scored all 6 times when we were in the red zone. Time of possession, we had 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 52 seconds. They had 26 minutes, 34 seconds. So that means that we had ball control and we actually controlled the ball game. So there was a lot of good things that we can build off of in that loss against Grambling because we played pretty good football. Now, when we got back in our meeting on Sunday, the thing that I told the team, it's great to play a good football game. We've played good football games over the last 2, maybe 3 weeks, but it's not enough to play a good football game. Now we've got to find a way to win. So, of course, we've talked about starting fast, which I thought we started fast. Then we talked about finishing. Now, my third point that I make to the team is not just finish, we've got to find a way to win the football game. And all it is a play here, a play there, and if we can do that, then we can come out victorious in some of the games that are close by a touchdown or less. So that's the main focus right now, not just finishing, but finding a way, somebody finding a way to win the football game.
Wonderful. We'll start with Nigel. If you can take us kind of through your week of preparation as a DB going against, as OC mentioned last week, Kincaid is a fantastic player, big-time athlete, transferring from Ole Miss. What did you guys look for in a film session or just throughout the week? How was it preparing for such an offensive guru like that?
Mostly with our coaches just stayed on us about staying deep. Like they are very fast and they score points, and mostly staying deep all week, playing fast and playing our keys, and that's what we did.
Definitely made some key adjustments from the Southern game, so that was crucial.
Yes,
and you led the team in tackles. Can you kind of tell me how we had 6 tackles on the day, unassisted, so that's big props to you. Can you kind of tell us how the speed of the game was on the field going against the #1 team? Because y'all outgained them offensively, so how was the speed of the game against Grambling?
One thing about this team, we always played to the opponent's team that we were playing, and we just came out fast and played ball, and it showed with the stats. But we didn't get it on the scoreboard, but we played fast. That's one thing that we did do Saturday.
Absolutely. Now, Dante, you came in for running back and did a fantastic job, first and foremost, as we heard some of the audience members talking to you before. Can you kind of tell us about what goes through your mind when you're running through the line? I mean, you have the ability to break tackles like none other. Well, what goes through your mind? Is it that New York mentality, that toughness?
No, it's that extra 20 pounds he put on.
That off season.
Honestly, I just had a mentality to not let especially one person tackle me, and if you do tackle me, I want to make sure the next time I come through, you ain't gonna want to tackle me again. So, I just, I like to try to put a hurting on the defense as much as possible, and, run as hard as I can and fight for extra yards.
Absolutely. Sounds a lot like Marshawn Lynch on the NFL spectrum. Do you look to any of those running backs in the league or college football that you look up to?
Definitely. Adrian Peterson was one of my favorite running backs. Growing up, Priest Holmes was one of my favorite running backs. So definitely.
All right, wonderful. Coach, if you could just give us a little preview of Prairie View A&M, and then we'll take questions from our audience.
Let me just comment on these two guys with us.
Sure.
Once again, it's huge for a freshman to come in exposed to the speed of college football, because there is a difference in speed between high school and college. And for Nigel to come in and lead the team in tackles, his second start, and get a huge interception like we alluded to, I take my hat off to him. He's got to keep it up and play consistent for these next 2 ball games. For Dante, to bring a back of his abilities, can run, he can catch out of the backfield. He's averaging 7.2 yards per carry in his last ball game, which is huge. I mean, that if you run him on first down, you get 7 yards. Now you've got 3 for the first down. That's manageable. You stay within your game plan. So both of these guys are doing a great job leading. They're doing a great job from a personal standpoint, and we definitely need it this week going into Prairie View. I said earlier in my opening, we've got on the West, we've got the 3 top teams. We played Grambling this past Saturday, Southern the week before, and of course we've got Prairie View, which is the number 3 team on the West as we speak. Prairie View is a good football team. They've got a good quarterback. Coach Simmons does a great job. He and his coaches getting them ready. From the offensive standpoint, they're not gonna really throw a lot of deep passes, but they're gonna kind of nickel and dime you, try to get just ball control. They want to win the time of possession. They will throw the ball down the field, but the majority of their passes is going to be underneath passes. They've got an explosive running back. The quarterback right now can run the ball. He doesn't run the ball quite as much as Kincaid, and Kincaid didn't run that much against us the other day. But he doesn't run quite as much as Kincaid, and he's got a strong arm. He can spin the football. From a defensive standpoint, very aggressive. They're going to come after you almost every play, and with some type of blitz, being a safety blitz, being a linebacker blitz, they're going to come after you. Their favorite coverage is going to be cover 4. They're going to sit back and let you make the mistakes, and they're going to try to capitalize on it. So our game plan is, of course, to go in, to start fast, like we always talk about, to definitely play for those 60 minutes. And, of course, the third phase would be to win the football game. I feel very confident going into this game. Prairie View is a very good football team. And I feel like we can play with them at this point with the confidence. We did sustain some injuries this past week, but it's next man up. And that's been the good thing about this football team. When the next man up had the opportunity or has the opportunity, they come in and they give it everything they got. So we're excited to be heading to Prairie View for Houston, and it should be a real good football game.
Appreciate that, Coach. All right, we'll take questions from our media.
O.C. Brown, Paulo Commercial. How you doing, Coach?
There you go.
All right. First off, you guys came out and played at Grambling. Nobody was giving you guys a chance coming into the game. It went toe for toe with them, but a loss is still a loss. Could you just talk about the locker room after a loss like a close, playing them like that, and just the atmosphere?
I think, and I did. I complimented the guys on their effort. We had a lot of effort all the way across the board this game against Grambling. My boss come to me, he said maybe the best game he's seen us play thus far. And it just shows the attitude and the DNA of this football team. It's a never say die. I mean, all we needed was one play here, one play there, either offense, defense, or special team, and we could have won that football game. So to answer your question, the locker room afterwards, everybody's feeling the same. Everybody's hurt. I mean, it's good to see the team hurt, not necessarily hurt, but my point, too hurt because they did lose, because there's been years past where guys, it was business as usual after a game, after a tough loss. But these guys actually hurt after a game. They're sitting around, they're consoling each other, they're getting ready for next week, saying that they're not going to let the same things that stopped us this week stop us next week. So the locker room was quiet after the game. People were sincere after the game, and we're hungry for another win.
All right, Coach. During the midst of the game, you lost your starting quarterback, Brandon Duncan. After last week losing Patterson, and Terrell stepped in, he was able to, keep the ship going there. Could you talk about the adversity you were hit with there, and with the team able to stay on pace with Grambling?
It's kind of unheard of. You lose your starting quarterback 2 weeks ago, and then the next week you lose your starting quarterback again. Now you're down to your third team quarterback. We feel confident in Marcus. Marcus actually came in and played, once he threw the interception when he first got in. I'm sure he was a little jittery. He was thrown in the heat of battle, hadn't warmed up, got in. Once he got warm, he ran the football extremely well, threw some good passes, kept us in the football game. We actually scored all 4 quarters. So it's bad to lose your starting quarterback. But like we've talked about, it's next man up. And these guys do get practice in practice, so we feel very confident going into this game with Marcus. Game plan probably won't change a whole lot, but it will change to suit what he does best. And, you know, we're going down to, quote, upset Prairie View.
Okay. Now, Mr. Kincaid, coming to the game, everybody knew what type of player he was. Coming from Ole Miss, it seems like every time they just had to have a play, he was on a part of the play that they made. Could you just talk about the effort he made and just how he was the difference between the ending of the game?
Well, he's a special quarterback. He's definitely a special quarterback. He can throw it. He can run it. He's a dual threat. Very good quarterback. He made some plays, but late in the game, third quarter, fourth quarter, we were able to prevent him from making plays. So, you know, I take my hat off to our guys, too, because they rose to the occasion with the understanding of his background, his athletic ability, his smarts for football. And our guys like Canada and some of the other guys on the defense, Shad Charity and Johnny Daniels and folks like that, they also stepped up to make sure that this kid just doesn't beat us single-handedly.
All right, now for you, Mr. McDonough. Seems like they kind of keyed on Keyshawn that game. They held him, I think, to under 50, I know, and then you were able to step in and pick up some of the load there. Could you just talk about what you've seen again from that aspect of the game?
Really, just we came in extremely prepared. You know, Coach White did a good job of getting us prepared and getting the game plan to where it was, you know, everything was a little slow out there for us as far as playing because they didn't throw nothing at us that we didn't see, and our scout team is harder than some of the defenses we played. So like they give us a real good look, and so you know we had a chance to go out there and just play our game because I mean we saw everything. Nothing they threw at us we wasn't ready for. We never seen. So as far as me running the ball, you know we knew it was certain ways that their line runs stunts and games and where certain holes was gonna hit. So you know I just went out there and just did what I was practiced all week, and the rest my old line did a great job of opening lanes for me and let me just do the rest.
All right. Now, you missed some time this year, correct?
Yes.
All right. Could you just talk about, from you just standing on the sideline, seeing the game, and coming back, playing in the games, can you just talk about the offensive consistency that you guys have put forward throughout the whole year?
Yeah, man. I suffered a high ankle sprain during a scrimmage we had during camp, and I also I tore a tendon or something that's in my leg connected to my ankle, so it kept me out like most of the season. I was able to come back Jackson, but they knew I wasn't 100%. So I mean I could play, but it wasn't to where I could play. Now these past couple of weeks I've been closer to my normal self than normal. So and Coach Sane and Coach White give me the opportunity, to go out there and me and Keyshawn, the great 1-2 punch. Used to change the pace, and it showed against Grambling. We was able to keep the offense alive and make some plays, make it easier for Marcus. Because Marcus came in cold, he didn't even expect to play, so he comes in there and he had, practice, he ain't got no reps or nothing like that, so he's coming in cold. So, I mean, we was coming out there trying to make the game easy for him, and, just like I said before, we just did what we was supposed to do.
All right. Now for you, Mr. Cannon, sometime throughout the year, the secondary has got a lot of criticism with you guys giving them some points back there in the back end. But from the inside perspective, could you just talk about your group of guys and how you feel about them?
Like Coach say, we are very young, but age don't matter. And at this school right here, you just have to, at playing college football, you just got to be ready for the occasion. When your number's called, just be ready. And that's what it's look forward to.
Now going forward, Coach, Prairie View, I know that quarterback, Nico, he's been pretty consistent this year in passing the ball. They got a pretty good running back to make a good backfield there, and 2 great receivers. Could you just talk about their offense and the attack that they present?
They're explosive. The quarterback, like I said, he's not the one that's going to run. He's not the Kincaid. He's not going to look to run the football. He's a big quarterback. He can see over the line, has a very strong arm. He can spin it very well. And he's got a couple, 2 or 3 receivers, including the tight end, that are key players for him. So the thing that we've got to do is not necessarily change anything. The effort, like I said, in this game against Grambling was definitely there across the board, but we did make some mistakes that we've got to clear up in practice. And I think if we can do that, then we can keep them guessing on some of the defenses, coverages, and stuff that we will present to Prairie View this weekend. But as far as their offense, they're explosive, not quite as explosive as they were last year, but they are putting points on the board. I think they've won 2 conference games right now, so they're 1 game ahead of us. So we're going to be optimistic to go down to move up into the 3rd place spot.
Okay. Now, Coach, earlier in the season, you guys had a stretch where you were on the road, seemed like you couldn't get back home. And now you've been at home for like probably the past 4 or 5 weeks. Could you talk about this preparation for getting ready to go back on the road again?
This is our last game. I won't count Little Rock, the last game against Texas Southern, as a road trip. War Memorial is definitely our second home site. But to travel to Houston, it really doesn't matter. Every year we've got to go there either to play Texas Southern or the next year play Prairie View. This year it falls on Prairie View. So we'll get on the bus at midnight on Thursday, and we'll travel. We'll get some rest, and we'll be ready to play. So, it was a little tiring to be on the road for the 4 weeks early in the season. But for right now, for this one game, I'm sure the guys are kind of anxious to get out of Pine Bluff to go and see some other places to get back on the bus. But overall, it's another opportunity for us, and that's what we're looking at, opposed to a road trip. We got another opportunity to win a football game.
All right, last question here, Coach. Any injury updates for quarterbacks Patterson and Duncan?
Well, I'm sure it's already out there, so I'll say it. Normally I don't talk about the injuries, but Lee Earl, of course, had a separated shoulder against Southern. He's out for the remaining of the year. And Brandon was called with a targeting hit on Saturday against Grambling. The young man was ejected. He'll be ejected for the first half of the game that they'll play this weekend. And he's out for the remaining of the season also. The protocol is he'll sit 2 days, and he'll go into a 2-week stretch to make sure that everything is fine. And the thing that, we as coaches, as the trainer, Robert Long, the welfare of the kids are more important. So we wouldn't do anything to jeopardize or try to rush Brandon back. We'll let him go through the protocol, and he's a senior. So, basically this game against Grambling was his last game in a Golden Line uniform.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Tim Stubbs, UAPB-TV Sports. Coach, I thought losing by 5, pretty much even Steven across the board when you look at the numbers,
yes.
Almost identical in some categories. One play stands out, as we highlighted instant replay a week ago. We bring it back up again this week. The 4th down play in the red zone where Grambling was threatening. They bring the kicking team on, I believe.
Yes.
Then they call a timeout, decide to go for it. Walk us through the pass play. Now, granted, I'm up higher. It looked like the ball hit the ground around the 1 or 2 yard line. If it's called incomplete, it's a turnover on downs, you have the ball. Okay, they rolled it complete. They have 1st and goal at the 1. They score the next play.
Yes.
You lose by 5. Walk us through that scenario and your thoughts without getting in trouble.
Yeah. Well, I'll plead the 5th then. From the sidelines, it looked as if the ball hit the ground. I argued with the officials. They did come together, unlike they did when we played Southern, when the guy was juggling the ball out of the end zone. They did come together, and from my understanding, each one of them said they really didn't have a clear view of if he caught it or if he didn't catch it. So I'm saying, well, how are you going to rule it a catch if you really didn't have a clear view of it? So I brought it back and we looked at it on film yesterday, slowed it down, watched it. We had Mr. Sean Steele, who actually almost intercepted the ball. It tipped him just a little. So either the kid had great concentration to catch the football or the ball hit the ground. Looking at it on film yesterday, putting it in slow motion, it was obvious the ball hit the ground. But unfortunately for us, it's hindsight. We can't go back and we can't make that play up. And it's like you said, it was a 4th down, 4th and 5, 4th and 6, or whatever it was. The ball would have been turned over on downs, and who knows, the outcome of the game could have been different. They're human. The officials are human, but I would like next year, we get the instant replay, then those calls don't come back to haunt you at the end of a game.
Instant replay throughout the season would be a game changer.
Absolutely.
I mean, it could affect standings in a monumental way across the board.
Absolutely.
From here on out, so that would be great. You want to get the call right. That's the whole point.
Yes.
You have to be elated by the progression of this team, not only from last year, when you look at the game at Grambling, compared to this year, night and day.
Yes.
Tremendous progression for the team. And then week by week, I see this team getting better. And they keep fighting. They're very resilient. That's got to be super encouraging for you, your staff.
Oh, it is. It is for me and the staff and the players, because they're the one that's playing. They see themselves getting better. From training camp, we've talked about it, how good of a football team we are. Now, we've had some injuries. We've had a lot of injuries, and that's kind of hindering us right now. But realistically, we're just a few football players away for depth purposes. Just one good recruiting class away to being more competitive, to winning more football games. We've got 3 freshmen, true freshmen, starting in the secondary. There's 3 true freshmen that's starting on the offensive line. We're down to our 3rd quarterback. It's kind of, next man up. But as far as these guys, it's been business as usual. They come to practice with an attitude. They practice good on some practices. And, their thing is when they line up on Saturday, they feel like they can't be beat. And they go out and they put the time in. The chancellor, Mr. Hardy, other coaches, we've talked about, we're not the same football team we were last year. By no stretch of the imagination. We are a better football team, and we are moving in the right direction. Just a couple of players here, a couple of players there, and we'll be a lot more competitive and probably win more games.
It's not even close, the comparison from last year to this year. When Marcus came in, he's only played a handful of snaps, maybe his career. I mean, what a position to be put in. It's senior day, and now all of a sudden he's right in the fire, as you mentioned. It would have been easy for the team to say, well, here we go again, and fold up and go home, and they did just the opposite. Tremendous credit to you, your players, your staff. It was very impressive, to say the least. So,
Coming into Coming into this season, the thing that I looked at last year, we were a very young football team, which we are now, but the concentration was going out finding experienced ball players, junior college ball players, to mix with the young guys, to have the experience and then have the youth. And I think that's the reason why we're seeing the difference right now. Last year, we were top heavy with young folks, young guys, freshmen, sophomores, and they were playing for us and they were making those mistakes. Now we've been able to sprinkle in Johnny Daniels and AGs and duos and people like that, guys who have played college football, and then letting the young guys get in there playing with them. And it's a good mixture, a real good mixture. These guys enjoy playing for each other. It hurts when we lose a football game. You know, there's been past years, and let me back up. Marcus, if we go back 2 years, 3 years, under the offensive coordinator position of Coach Jones, Anthony Jones, Marcus actually started that campaign when Jones first got here. So Marcus do have SWAC hours. He understands the speed of the game. And we won some games with Marcus back during his tenure as the starter. Lee Earl and Brandon have beaten him out over the last couple of years, but Marcus do and have the ability to lead this football team. So, you know, does it hurt to have the 2 guys out that you call starters? Yes, it does, but we still have Marcus in place to lead us to a victory this weekend.
Yeah, I thought Brandon was playing really well. He looked like the Brandon of old before he got smoked on that play, and nothing but the best for him. Hope he's okay.
Yeah.
Final analysis here. Kincaid held him to 254 yards. He had almost 200 at halftime. What did you guys do differently in the second half to limit him?
Just play a little harder. I mean, we didn't change the coverages very much. Just guys just came out and played just a little bit harder. Defensive line played, got pressure on him, got him out of the pocket a couple of times. He was able to scramble, but they just played harder. All 3 phases. Paris Mack returned some kicks for us. The offense, Dante and Keyshawn and Marcus and Brandon ran the football well. I mean, 212 yards against a real good defense. I said this earlier. In most of Grambling's games this year, at halftime, they're over with. They've scored so many points that the game is pretty much over with. So the guys came out, and the effort was extremely good this past week.
It was good to see Beast Mode back. To have that 1-2 punch.
Absolutely.
That changes things.
Yes, it does.
Good game.
Appreciate it.
All right, questions from the audience, please.
Thank you. I want to follow up on Tim's question, his last comment.
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering, you know, that's a halftime to every game, and we haven't had the results that we had coming out of half in previous games like we did this time. Coach, what did you, since you say you didn't make many changes, what did you say to make them play harder?
I honestly, Bubba, I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. They were fired up. They felt like when I walked in and I gathered them all together, there were a couple of players was making comments from across the room and saying, hey, we just took their best. They felt like that was the best Grambling had. And he said, now they were saying it's up to us to go out and win this thing. And so it wasn't a whole lot for me to say. I didn't have to give a pep talk or anything. Everybody understood what was at stake. Everybody understood what was on the line and knew what we had done that first half. And they just went out and carried it out the second half.
In the presence of these 2 young men that you have beside you,
Yes.
In the past, earlier in the season, because of the way the season was going, we hoped for victories. Now we expect victories.
Absolutely.
And I feel like with the attitude, and attitude has everything to do with everything. With the attitude that you all have, Dante feeling like you cannot be stopped. Dante, you like a bull in a china shop. And you play the rest of the season like that.
You mean it as a compliment, right?
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, wreaking havoc on the opposing team, breaking tackles. You know, refusing to go down, and maintain your grip on the ball. And Canada, if you playing this well as a freshman, we expect to see you as an All-American in your senior year, or maybe before. You have that talent. And to you, Coach, this is your first year with, thank you to the chancellor and the athletic director, you have a full complement of scholarships. Yes. This is your first class of student athletes that you got in to compete with everybody else that had the full complement of scholarships. That's why we see so many freshmen, I think. And it's starting to really make a difference. So kudos to you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, one more comment, and I'll be. My boy Jamie Gilliam.
Gold, you mean gold toe?
Gold toe, that's right. Look, I don't think the viewing public or the people that are in the stands realize the gem that we have in him. That young man kicked 4 field goals. He put up a total of 14 points came off of his toe, and almost 17. And I watched the one that he missed. The snap was high.
Yes, it was.
And I think it threw his rhythm off. But I believe he would have hit that one too. And I want to tell you the distance that he kicked these balls.
All right.
28 yards,
Yep.
34 yards,
Yep.
35 yards,
Okay.
and 43 yards.
How far was the one he missed?
Now that's not in here, but
49.
49. Okay. And then last week he kicked a 52, right?
A few weeks back.
A few weeks back, yeah. You know, that's why he's gold-toed. And that young man is, I believe, and that's kicking. Now let's talk about punting.
Okay.
I believe twice I saw him drop that ball somewhere around the 5-yard line.
Yes, sir.
You know, he's an exceptional young man. He may be the best kicker punter in the history of UAPB.
Okay.
And we need, do you say no?
Otis Cruder.
Well, we don't know him. Okay, in the modern era, in the modern era, you know. But that young man, I believe, is all-American material and possibly pro material. And like a lot of people didn't see Teron Armstead,
Yes.
didn't pay attention to him as good as he is starting with New Orleans.
Yes.
This young man we may see on Sundays, so everybody just pay attention to him.
Yeah. You know, just a comment about Jamie. Jamie is doing an outstanding job, double duties. It wasn't my choice to have a double duty kicker. We did recruit a young man out of high school who was going to do the kicking part for us this year. For whatever reason, he decided he wanted to go to the military. So he left the military, so he left the duties up to Jamie. Right now, Jamie is less than a yard in punting from being the #1 punter in the nation. Yeah, so.
Excuse me, y'all. Grambling averaged 39 yards per punt. He averaged 48.
48 yards, that's, yeah, absolutely right. And he's less than a yard from being the #1 punter in the nation. He's got a strong leg. Now, the thing that I've got to, that my complaint with Jamie is, he wants to make too many tackles. That's it, rugby, and you're absolutely right. He made a game-saving tackle this past game. He made a bone-chilling tackle against Southern on their sidelines when we played them. So Jamie wants to mix it up, and I got to discourage him from doing that. But as far as Jamie kicking, he's keeping us in games with his punting, and definitely he is a weapon, kicking field goals and extra points.
All right, any other questions from our members in the audience? All right, Coach, we've seen the progression. We talk about the last 5 games. It's been 5 straight losses. Let's go back to the first one. We've had A&M down 6 on the road, had a chance to win that one before they scored the touchdown. Valley up 14 at home, definitely a competitive game we let slip away. Central State homecoming, lost by 5 with the lead of 8 points in the second half. And then Southern last week, we were down big in the first half, fought back, almost stole that game away. And Grambling, once again, final drive had a chance. So we see the fight, Coach. We see the change, and continue to do what you do. It's going to click. It's going to click.
Well, it's like I said earlier, me and the coaches, we talked about it, the team is doing what I'm asking them to do. They're starting fast in most cases. They're finishing in most cases. The one thing I wasn't emphasizing or wasn't verbally saying to them, let's win. So that is a part of my speech now, is to go out and win. And if we get the effort like we've been getting, which I don't expect anything different in effort, we look forward to going down upsetting Prairie View.
Wonderful, Coach, wonderful. We'd like to remind everybody Saturday in Houston against Prairie View for the football game. Also Friday night we have our season opener for the Lady Lions basketball team against Tougaloo College here at H.O. Clemens Arena. So we'd like to invite you guys out there. 6 o'clock start time, Coach Gilbert? Yes, sir, 6 o'clock, so you guys are out there. And then, of course, our men travel. They face Hawaii early on, so they won't be home until January. But we would like to invite you to Friday night's basketball game, and then if you travel to Houston, we'll see you in Houston as well. All right, on behalf of Chancellor and AD, we'd like to thank UAPB Dining Services, Miss Rosie, Miss Linda, and of course Mr. Avery. Always do a fantastic job for us week in and week out. And thanks to these two student athletes, wonderful gentlemen, and of course Coach Coleman. Keep on pushing. Keep on pushing. Yes, sir. All right, thank you guys so much for coming to our weekly coaches luncheon. At this moment, let's eat.